ladies and gentlemen, it's Ukrainian show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today our guests are Dr. Jonathan Lockwood. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sasha. Glad to be here as always.
Glad to have you. And Ivan Kucherenko, our man in Kyiv. Welcome to the show, Ivan.
Hello, Sasha. Hello, Jonathan. Glad to be here today.
Okay, so now all attention of the world is glued to the Trump's Asian trip, and so there's a little bit of a vacuum of what's happening in Ukraine or around Ukraine or so on. That's what I feel. Jonathan, would you agree with me?
Yes, the attention is momentarily diverted, and not because things are going badly in Ukraine for the West, certainly because now the attention is off, and President Trump obviously feels comfortable that he is backing the winning side, and that the European allies are acting in consonance with President Trump's wishes and with Ukraine's wishes to at least to a certain extent, to a large extent. And now we are seeing that the correlation of forces, to borrow a phrase from the former Soviets, the correlation of forces is continuing to move in favor of Ukraine on the battlefield, politically and economically. So this is a very hopeful sign.
Yeah, and by the way, Zelensky publicly announced that the Ukrainian-made missiles are now being used against Russians. So the issue of Tomahawk is becoming more political rather than really military decision, because Ukraine will have equivalent of Tomahawks, if not better.
A close enough equivalent, Sasha.
Let's see, if they hit an object and Tomahawk would kill 600 people, and a Ukrainian missile will hit 575 people. It's a nuance.
It's insignificant, and you're quite correct. It's the Tomahawks the Tomahawks have now become a nice to have thing for Ukraine, not a must have for Ukraine. So that is crucial.
It's a political statement which would show that U.S. is fully on the side of Ukraine, and Putin has nothing.
It gives them another lever to apply pressure.
Absolutely.
Another lever to ratchet up the pressure against Russia. And this is a very hopeful sign. And again, it sets up the possibility, not the certainty. The Ukrainians may not feel that it is absolutely necessary at this point, but if the Ukrainians were to undertake a major counteroffensive at this point using whatever strategic reserves they have put together, and if they feel that they have degraded the air defenses of the Crimea sufficiently in order to be able to make this possible, that this in fact would be the time to launch it before the weather becomes too severe for Ukraine to entertain launching an offensive into Crimea. In which case they may just be content to continue wearing down the Russian ability to wage war against their logistical infrastructure, their economy, and just continue beating them down until they are unable to prosecute further offensives.
There's very interesting information, Ivan. I'm not sure if you can confirm that Russians have now specially trained units that can fight 12 months a year, that the winter is absolutely nothing for them, and they can attack and defend in any weather, any temperature. Have you heard about it, Ivan?
It's not a new story. It's a part of Russian mid-grinder tactics when they use, instead of attacking with a large number of troops using the armored vehicles, they just send in like 2 or 4 separate soldiers in order to sneak between Ukrainian positions, to find places where Ukrainian defenders lack actually soldiers to watch the whole battlefield line, and they sneak through those positions, and they then starting
Waiting for reinforcement.
waiting for reinforcements, and when like now in Pokrovsk, using the tactics, they've managed to gather like 20 soldiers in Pokrovsk, and they're using them to attack Ukrainian positions just from the back, and at the same time they're launching more powerful front attacks using the armored vehicles when they're supported by those soldiers attacking from the back. And actually, these tactics is working. It's a real problem for Ukrainian defenders, but also using these tactics, Russians continue to sustain heavy casualties, because from those single soldiers, not 100% are successful in their attempts to sneak over Ukrainian positions. A lot of them being destroyed by Ukrainian drones, by Ukrainian soldiers, because they're unarmored, they're completely defenseless. They can't fight drone attacks, and they're easy targets in those areas which are being constantly monitored and controlled by Ukrainian troops. So it's not a game changer. That's a problem, and Ukrainian defenders are facing that problem. And I think that the solution will be found, like the solutions were found for all other Russian tactics, like gliding bombs, which was a great problem for one period of time on the battlefield. But now Ukrainian defenders discard how to fight Russian gliding bombs, and it's not a great problem anymore.
Ivan, you were just talking about Pokrovsk. I would like to mention something, that if you remember, a Stalingrad battle was lasting from November 42 to beginning of February 43. So it's talking about 3.5-4 months. I think Battle of Pokrovsk lasts already well longer than that.
There are other examples, and I've actually got a movie for today. It's it's a movie trailer announcing another documentary about the energy company workers who are actually attempting to maintain the work of the last power plant on Donbass. It's like 30 kilometers from Donetsk. It's been constantly shelled by Russian artillery, by Russian attacks, and they are constantly repairing it, and it's still operational and still working because it supplies the energy for rest of Donetsk regions. A really great documentary, and it's a short story in a movie trailer, but I just want us to watch it right now.
Thank you. Let's see it.
Let's have at it.
От ви сьогодні казали, коли ми йшли, що...
Народ, звалюємо. Давайте, народ. Спускайтеся, народ.
Бігом вниз.
Не стійте так, не затримуйтесь тут.
Несіть, хлопці. В енергосистемі України спостерігається дефіцит.
Єдина теплова електростанція в Донецькій області. Тому так, це ціль. Ціль – не дати працювати.
Найближчий приліт був десь за 5 метрів від мене.
А ви питали, чи будуть прильоти. Ось 5 штук до обіду. І ввечері ще.
Зараз подзвоню батькам. Бляха. Чорт, хоч би з батьками все було нормально. Сергій і Катя на вулиці?
До околиць Донецька 30 кілометрів. Я розумію, дим з труби, він дратує. Люди напружені.
Усе робимо, щоб підняти. Але і хрестяться всі, щоб її не запустили, не задиміла.
І ми почуваємося якось комфортніше, коли вона стоїть і дим не йде.
Моя оборона тут. Скільки б вони не стріляли, скільки б не били, я робитиму все, щоб вона працювала.
Багато хто пов'язує життя міста саме з роботою підприємства. Помирає підприємство, помирає місто. Тому боляче всім.
Потихеньку. Помаленьку живемо.
Живемо
Ну так,
чи існуємо?
поки живемо.
Живемо.
That is amazing.
Amazing movie, absolutely. It's
And it's not fictional. It's not fictional. It's just drawn as it happens.
So what do you think about what you've seen? Putin wants to have all Donbass. Never mind, he'll never have it. But however, imagine that he would. What is he going to be? His country is falling apart. His economy is basically done. And how he's going to manage this territory? What he's going to do? I've read that there is no water in a city of Donetsk. So Donetsk, which was so-called liberated by Russians in 2014, now 11, almost 12 years later, there is no water in that city, and it's fully controlled by Russians. So what's awaiting the rest of the Donbass when Russians, if Russians would ever take over?
Nothing good, actually. Nothing good because they will not be able to rebuild it. It's enormous money and enormous resources which Russia doesn't have right now, and obviously because of economic factors will not have in the future. The majority of towns, of villages which they've occupied starting from their full-scale invasion, they are not even restoring them. Beside Donetsk, there are cities like Bakhmut, like Avdiivka, which were completely destroyed, like Vuhledar. They were completely destroyed by Russian. There are ruins, and they are not rebuilding them because they don't just have resources. People left those cities. The only place Russians are rebuilding is Mariupol. They are rebuilding it for Russian propaganda, to bring foreign journalists there to show look how Russia is restoring and creating a new Donbass and all that bullshit. But it's like Potemkin villages, which was a famous trend for Russian Empire, to put some artificial houses on the road where the Russian emperor goes, and beside those houses they were like ruins, and that's what's going in occupied by Russian Donbass. Mariupol is a great Potemkin village, and the rest of Donbass is completely ruined. In Donetsk, there is no water because bringing water back to Donetsk was one of the goals of Russian offensive, because the water supply for Donetsk was in other territory of Donbass controlled by Ukrainian forces at the moment of Russian occupation of Donetsk in 2014. But when they've captured those territories, they've destroyed completely all water infrastructure. So now it's because of their ways of doing this war. They've bombed, they've shelled completely all industrial infrastructure, including water infrastructure. And now they just can't restore it because that infrastructure was built years ago, and actually there is no way to. It's a very difficult goal. Ukraine, actually, for you to know that only this year Ukraine managed to establish water supply to Mykolaiv, because water supply to Mykolaiv, which is controlled by Ukrainian, Russians were not able to capture it. They were able to capture Kherson, but when they've captured part of Kherson region and destroyed the Kakhovka dam, the water supply for Mykolaiv was cut off, and Ukraine had to invest a lot of money in order to build and restore the water, pure water supply. I mean, not technical water, but pure water supply, which you can drink. Actually, to restore it to the city of Mykolaiv. Though Ukraine has support from European partners, it was not only Ukraine who invested those money to restore that supply. And Russia, they have only China, but China is not going to invest money in Russia easily. China is okay for buying cheap oil resources from Russia to supply Russia with drones or with the equipment in order to let Russia actually wage this war. But China will not invest into money into Russia in some large infrastructure projects where they will not be able to get their immediate output for that. So coming back to your question, for occupied Donbass by Russia is no great future.
And it's not going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
But speaking about China, you know what China does? So Russia wanted to build pipelines, gas and oil to China. So China finally they gave permission to Russia to build these pipelines. So now the question is financing. So China says, well, it's your product. You're bringing it to us to sell. You are responsible to actually finance it and build it. And
we've got no money.
So Russia says, okay, so let's negotiate the prices. At what prices you're going to buy these products? China goes, there are no products. You build, you deliver, and then we'll tell you what would be the prices. This is about a love and friendship between Russia and China. Figure out.
Given that kind of friendship, I'll take vanilla. Thank you very much. It's just amazing. And the thing is, to Ivan's earlier description, the Russian effort to occupy the Donbass region, the Russians at this point might as well be trying to occupy the planet Mars. Mars is uninhabitable, and they have made Donbass, essentially for themselves, uninhabitable. So it's really a pointless effort, and it's simply sucking they don't have the resources to rebuild it, even if they wanted to. And now, and also their current offensive tactics remind me, to a certain extent, of what the Germans tried in 1918 with their infiltration tactics. They had, you'll recall, they did have limited success because the Western Allies were on the ropes and dangerously short, in danger of losing the war unless the Americans got there in time. But in the meantime, the Germans launched their infiltration tactics, and they bypassed strong points, and that looked very good, except there's a problem. They did not have the capacity to follow up. They did not have exploitation forces. They were not able to follow and defend those. And even so, in the current situation, the Russians are doing, in a way, a very similar thing to what the Germans tried to do in 1918. they don't have the capacity to follow up or create a real breakthrough, but they're bypassing and trying to hold on to what they have. It's not working. And in that case, the Ukrainians, like the Western allies, are finding countermeasures, finding ways to stop those infiltration tactics. And the net result will be that the Russians will incur even greater losses for practically no strategic gain. So right now, it's just one of those.
It's different time, like it was in during the First World War in 2018 and now, because at that time I recently actually watched a nice movie on YouTube about that war. Russians didn't even have ways to communicate with their different troops, and they were not able to receive orders in time. And now
And they communicated in the clear. They did not code their messages. They communicated in the clear, and the Germans knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. And now the new ways of communication, new ways of actually monitoring what is happening on the battlefield. The new tactics actually Russians are using. They're using touristic travel tents in order to hide in them from the thermo imaging reconnaissance, because from the infrared sensors, because the travel tents are actually blocking those signals, and it's crazy. They're using all the shit they're using, like donkeys, like bikes, like golf cars. Now they're using travel tents, and China actually is a great partner in that for Russia, because China can supply Russia with a very cheap travel tents in great numbers.
If the results were not so tragic, it would be hilarious to watch.
Yeah, according actually by the latest data, during that year, Russia lost like 300,000 troops on the battlefield, which is equal of the number of troops they've mobilized, actually. So when someone is talking about that Russia is gathering some reserves, some troops to attack NATO, Baltic countries, Finland, Poland, it's a bullshit, because all the reserves they are having, they're bringing them directly on the battlefield. And for that year, the number of troops they mobilized is equal to the number of their losses. It's so it's like a line working in a line when they mobilize troop on the one end of that line, and they have dead troop on the other side of that line.
You see, it's been calculated that average lifespan on Ukrainian front line for Russian soldiers is 12 days. That's all. So they need reinforcement every 12 days, gone. Next 12 days. So when you arriving on the front line, you may count 11, 10, 9. That's how many days you have left.
You make it past 12, you're considered a war hero.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is why they need reinforcement. I'm still surprised that Putin is not going for a total mobilization, because I don't think that will change anything. But at least he'll try. But he's not doing that because he's scared that people will revolt against him. Because
if he had gone for total mobilization at the start of the war, rather than waiting, but he thought he could do it on the cheap. He actually believed that the military operation was only going to take a very short time to accomplish its objectives. And by the time the truth finally dawned on him, it's way too late to consider a total mobilization. Remember, Nazi
And
Germany.
it will be a kill for Russian economy. I've actually just recalled a funny story I've been told by fellows from Ukrainian soldiers about regarding that we was discussing about the communication. Now Russians have problems sometimes with communication as well, like in the First World War, and there is a story about those Russian infiltrated soldiers, which were actually then surrounded by Ukrainian soldiers, and Russians tried to send reinforcements to them, and they thought that it was not their reinforcements but Ukrainian soldiers attacking, and they had no communication probably with the Russian side, and they've started to kill their own reinforcements wave by wave. Russians were sending reinforcements to them, and they were killing, and Ukrainian soldiers were watching this and joking that probably we have to supply those Russians with the ammo and probably send them some food in order for them to do their great job by killing their own reinforcements.
One of my
I had
favorite war stories is during Second World War. You know that in Russian army there are not just Russians. There are a lot of different nationalities. The Mordva people, Bashkirians, and many others. So one Russian platoon, it's completely encircled by Germans, and German in megaphone, he says, "Русский, сдавайся," Russian, give up. So a single voice from the Russians asking, "Товарищ немец, а татары тоже?" My dear German friend, Tatars also have to give up. So this is about unity of the Soviet or Russian army. It's really something. And with army like that, I don't see how they can still fight for so long time, because let's face it, in February it will be 4 years. It's going to be in Second World War from moment that the Germans attack Soviet Union. It's going to be longer than this.
Already longer than Korean War, and
Yes.
it's one of the longest war of the modern history, unfortunately. So yeah.
And what we can hope for is that once Russia finally admits defeat, or in their way of doing it, they'll simply declare victory and go home, we hope, then the next major effort will be the economic recovery of Ukraine, the rebuilding of Ukraine. And that shows great promise, because there's going to be a great willingness on the part of Ukraine's, if the nations of Europe have any sense of gratitude at all to Ukraine for what they have done, for the sacrifices they have made, they will bend over backwards, I predict, to give as much economic and military aid to Ukraine to rebuild and restore. Not because they're generous people, but they'll be acting in their own enlightened self-interest, because it is in Europe's interest to have a strong, recovered, and prosperous Ukraine.
But this is one of the reasons why Putin doesn't want to stop the war.
Correct.
Because once it's done, then all world, it's not just the West, it will be Middle East countries, it will be Australia and Japan, and perhaps China, I wouldn't rule that out as well, to help Ukraine to rebuild, and it will be done very, very quickly. I think in a couple of years, you will not recognize the country. And what's awaiting of Russia? Who is going to help to rebuild Russia?
They will simply let Russia die on the vine.
Yeah, and that Putin cannot afford, because he will be killed by his own people, saying that, okay, so you eliminated 1 million of our own people, of your own people. For what? Look at Ukraine now and look at where we are.
That's quite true, and that
It's the end of Putin.
will
That's
certainly
what-
be the end of Putin. But I would offer one word of cautionary advice. Is I've said this before: never take your foot off the neck of a dying cobra, because simply because Putin passes from the scene, it does not mean that his replacement might be just as bad, if not even worse. In which case, it's a dying cobra economically and militarily, but that does not mean that you should relax your vigilance one bit.
It should die. That's one of the points why sanctions, even after the peace deal, sanctions should not be lifted from Russia, because that cobra should die actually, and broke apart like Soviet, like Russian Empire did after the revolution, like the Soviet Empire, Soviet Union did after it collapsed, and now it's a third time for Russia to collapse in different parts, and when those parts would be smaller, when those parts would be able to do their own foreign relations, to build their own foreign relations. So some parts of that country probably would like to be with China. Some parts would like to be with Europe. Some parts would like to be with the Middle East countries. Obviously, maybe Alaska would like to
Don't count on it.
Kamchatka will like to join United States, and then
Oh,
it
there
will
we
be
go.
a great time to build that tunnel to Alaska. Actually,
There you go.
So.
Yes, they'll call it the
Okay.
Trump tunnel.
I'd just like to mention that in the last few days there was a visitor, still ongoing visit of Putin's son-in-law by the name Dmitriev. He's called to be a financial strategist and so on to United States. I'm surprised at his time of his visit, because everybody went to Middle East and China and Asia. So he's trying to give interview to anybody who would be willing to listen to him, and there are not too many outlets that would like to even interview him. So he's desperate, and I think Putin will punish.
That's what I would call fitting punishment for Russia. Not to be conquered, but to be rendered irrelevant.
Yeah.
From one point, actually, what is remarkable is how fast he traveled to Russia after those sanctions of the United States announced, and Putin saying that these sanctions will not harm Russia. It's okay. Russia will manage to live, and Russian economy is very strong, and
They will not harm
will not
Russia.
harm. But that Dmitriev traveled to United States really fast after those sanctions were announced. But another point is how American media are inviting him, like CNN is invited him for interview. He's Russian propagandist. Actually, he's saying, I've seen that fragment of that interview when host showed the kindergarten in Kharkiv destroyed by Russian drone attack, and he said, it was a mistake. Our soldiers did a mistake. Russia is destroying kindergartens. Russia is destroying hospitals. Russia is destroying schools in Ukraine for almost 4 years. Are they doing the same mistake all the time? Come on. He's just imagine, again, just imagine Second World War, some German economic advisor or not even economic, some Hitler's advisor like Goebbels is traveling to United States, and he's been invited to a radio station, and he's broadcasting that, oh no, we are not burning Jews. It was a mistake. No. Our soldiers did a mistake. What we didn't. We are not burning Jews. It was a
burning
mistake.
themselves. They're burning themselves.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that finally one congresswoman, I don't remember her name, so she agreed to meet with this Dmitriev. So Dmitriev was a real gentleman. He brought some flowers for her and a box of the sweets with a picture of Putin on the top of this box.
Oh my!
I immediately was thinking, are this
Bozhe moi.
I think there was maybe a Novichok inside. I don't know. If it's a picture of Putin, I would run away.
One of the quotes, famous so-called quotes of Putin is that we don't left our soldiers behind. And it's a great example of how the Russian propaganda works, and it's a great example of hypocrisy. Remember Russian submarine Kursk, which inflicted some kind of damage. And
Putin said on a question, what's happened with Kursk? He said, "Она утонула."
It drawn. And when European countries actually, and they were Russian Russian navies, Russian soldiers in that submarine, and they were begging for help, and the European countries offered help to Russia to in order to get those people from Kursk back, and Russia and Putin declined that help because they were afraid that European countries, they will get access to that submarine and some secret Russian military projects and technologies, obviously. And during that war, actually, there were numerous examples when Russia left their soldiers without any support, without when Russia didn't want to exchange their prisoners of war for some period. And at the same time, Russian propaganda says, oh, Vladimir Putin's best quote is that we don't leave our soldiers behind. We don't leave our soldiers without help. And Russian propagandist Dmitriev is presenting candies with that quote to American congresswoman. It's clear hypocrisy.
Yeah, the U.S. Marines make that same claim that they never leave their soldiers behind. Fortunately they've been able to back it up a lot better than anyone else. So, yeah, when you say you don't leave your soldiers behind, you better be prepared to prove it.
Well, Dmitriev is a very wealthy man, and I think it will end up that he will be paying to CNN and others to interview him. So.
That's about it. And CNN, for its part, its ratings compared to the leading network, which is Fox, CNN will take whatever they can get. They are not in a position to really do that much.
I don't know what laws are in the United States, but in Ukraine, when some content is paid by to be displayed actually on the air, it should be titled like a commercial or advertisement.
Paid advertisement.
Yeah. So I think that CNN actually should title that video with Dmitry like paid advertisement.
I'm not sure that we appeared on CNN. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure, but
or Fox.
Fox. Maybe
Fox might for the sake of journalistic fairness, out of journalistic fairness. But again, it's not as if Russia has any real leverage or ability to convince networks like Fox or any other U.S. network to act as propaganda vehicles for Russia. The network would make very clear. By other commentators would make that very clear. So it's not a worthwhile effort for Russia to try to engage in propaganda on U.S. networks. It's just simply not cost effective.
Okay.
It was on CNN actually. I've checked. He was on CNN.
Okay. On Thursday, there is a very important day where Trump and Xi will discuss their trade deals or non-deals or some deals, and we'll see how it will play out. And we'll discuss that and many other news on Friday here, same place, same time. Thank you so much for today's program, and looking forward to good news to discuss Friday. Thank you very much, everybody. Glory to Ukraine.
God bless America.
And Canada and Province of Ontario. Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.